Hey everyone, how's it going? Coming to you with another knife review. This one's more of a re-review on the Bantam BLW. For those of you who don't know, I actually reviewed one of these about 5 or 6 years ago, and I had one with the, I think it was like the diamondback rattlesnake scale pattern on the handle. And I titled that video Subpar EDC because I really did feel like it was a subpar everyday carry knife when you compared it to all the other awesome knives on the market. Beyond just feeling like they were better choices, there were many problems with that particular Bantam BLW and a couple others that I'd handled at that point in time. The first one being that I could not sharpen the blade. And so many people wanted to attack me in the comment section. I can't believe you can't sharpen that. 420 is a soft steel. Yeah, it is, and it should be easy to sharpen. That particular one, though, no matter what method I used, if I went from diamond steels to Arkansas stones, I couldn't get an edge on it. Ceramic rods didn't work. And I'd use those same sharpening methods on S30V blades, 154cm blades, D2 blades, and they sharpened up readily, but not that particular Buck 420HC. Additionally, I had some ergonomic issues with the inside of the handle scales on that particular knife. They were a little sharp and it made it uncomfortable to handle. And I had tons of blade play in every direction from very minimal amounts of use. So, I have 2 more Bantam BLWs now, several years later, to see if any of these issues have been fixed, and to perhaps see if that was just a lemon. So this is going to be a re-review, and it might run a little long, so let's go ahead and jump into it. I'll show you this orange one here, because I've actually carried and used the pink one a bit more, just because I love the look on people's faces whenever I pop out a pink everyday carry knife. So let's go ahead and start with the blade. 3.1 inches long, made from Buck's 420HC. Alright, and I can tell you right now, this one and the pink one both sharpened up readily. They had no problems touching up. I'm guessing that I had just a Bantam from a bad batch, and all of the Bantams I had seen at that point in time were from the same store, so they were probably from the same production run. And I'm going to assume that was just a really bad batch of the steel, because this one super sharp and doesn't take anything to get that edge on there. It holds it for a reasonable amount of time, not an outstanding period of time. About on par with a mid-end 8CR 13 MOV or AUS 8 steel blade, which is extremely impressive when you consider how low quality a steel 420HC really is. And it is. 420HC is a very low-end steel. So being able to hold an edge as well as any mid-end steel is actually really impressive for it, and I would say definitely adequate for EDC. Sharpens up readily, takes a surgically sharp, fine edge, holds it for a modest amount of time, pretty good rust resistance. I think the blade steel is adequate. Okay, it's a drop point shape and we're hollow ground from about mid-blade down, and it's an amazing slicer. It is an absolutely amazing slicer. This thing goes through cardboard like you wouldn't believe, clamshell packages like you wouldn't believe, thanks to this very fine tip on this particular Bantam. However, that's where the plot kind of thickens a little bit. Let's bring the pink one in. This one is the one that I've used the most, but I haven't put any excessive wear on that tip. And let's go ahead and zoom in to show you guys. First of all, the tip on the orange one. Okay, you can see how fine that is. How nice and sharp. Here's the pink one. Okay, still a sharp tip, but not nearly as sharp and pointy as that orange one, as you can probably make out on camera. It's a little bit more blunted, and it was that way brand new as well. That's not from like excessive use and wear. That is just how it came. So there's definitely some inconsistencies with the quality on these knives, and you'll see that a little bit more whenever I show you this one, and there's a reason I have a third one. Alright, so good sharp tip on this one, decent tip on this one. Overall, I would say the blade is extremely adequate. We have kind of a two-tone thing going on here with these, where we have a satin finish section on the hollow grind and almost a stone-washed finish on the flat. Gives it a nice double, or a nice dual tone finish there. Definitely a big fan. Deployment speed on these knives is pretty average, I would say. I can get them open without needing wrist action. Usually this pink one's a little stiffer than this orange one. This orange one pretty much always deploys. It's not the fastest deployment, but for a lockback, yeah, I would say it's pretty adequate. Dual thumb studs on them. We can see it's kind of a flange design. Reminds me very much of the Sanren Mu 710 and 763. Alright. Lockup, however, is where we start to have a few issues. Side to side on this pinned construction knife. Maybe you can see that. I'm actually going to zoom us in again. You see that? The side-to-side blade play? Probably can. Here's the pink one. Good focus. Come on. Focus. There we go. Also has a decent amount of side-to-side blade play. I'm trying not to move my right hand as I do this, but it's kind of hard. So they both have play side to side. That isn't a huge deal. What is a big deal is the up and down. Now on this orange one, I don't actually have up and down blade play. Alright? What I do have though is an extremely weak lock bar. And what I mean by that is my hand is clear of the lock back itself. Watch through this jimping here as I try to push this blade up. See that? There's not space between that lock bar and the tang of that blade. That lock bar is just so weak that I can flex it a pretty good distance, I would say, just by pushing up and down on that blade. The pink one, I can't flex that lock bar, but I do have a bit of up and down. Zoom you out here so you're not super close on the knife. Hear that? So a really solid amount of up and down play in that. Not something I'm a big fan of. It's very noticeable. On this one, no actual blade play, but I can flex the hell out of that extremely weak lock bar. Bumping my tripod here. And that is a big problem for me. So not only can I not adjust the side to side, but I can flex this one, which makes me feel like the lock isn't overly safe. And on this one, I have actual up and down play. Something I'm not a gigantic fan of. Moving on to the handle, I can say they have fixed the issue with the sharp inside, or the sharp section on the inside of the scales. These are reasonably ergonomic in hand, both of them. So reasonably comfortable. It is a 4.3-inch long handle made from glass reinforced nylon. The original one that I reviewed, they had it listed as thermoplastic. I'm not really sure the difference. I can say that it feels pretty much the same. There are no steel liners in here. And you probably can't see the honeycombing that's on the inside there. I really should have got a flashlight for this video. But there's like a honeycombing pattern on the inside. The knife is very light at 2.4 ounces, which is a great weight for a 3.1-inch blade. But some of you may not like this. See that? The scales are extremely easy to flex. Not a big deal to me, but I know a lot of you probably won't like that. How's the centering on these knives? I'd say pretty much perfect on the orange one. Really bad on the pink one. That is actually rubbing the scale a little bit on the left-hand side. I'll zoom you in a little bit so you can see that centering. So you can see, really, really bad on the pink one. Pretty much perfect on this orange one. That being said, the handle is far from perfect on the orange one specifically because, again, we have a riveted construction. But listen to this. Hear that? You know what that is? That is the scale being loose. You can see as I press down on it that that particular scale is loose, and I can actually shift it. I'm trying to see if I can get that to show up on camera. There you go. See that? That is no bueno. Because you're not supposed to be able to do that, and you can't just adjust it yourself. I guess if you had all the proper tools, you could probably re-rivet that, but should you have to do that, even on a $20 knife? I don't think so. None of the other knives that I've had in this thing's price range that were made in the USA or otherwise had these problems. And I'll get to the whole USA claim in a moment. But the quality control on this one, kind of subpar. This one doesn't have any of those same issues. It's fine. There's no loose scales. But I did contact Buck about this one. And you guys know I always have to be completely honest with you. Whenever I first let them know, I asked, you know, hey, my scale is loose. I sent them pictures. I told them I could hear it and I could make it just rattle. I asked if there was anything we could do. The first thing they told me was literally, well, you could try fixing it yourself, and that was the entire email. You could try fixing it yourself, which is completely unacceptable because they're the ones who let this low quality or poor quality control item, out of their facility. And I know people are going to be shouting at me in the comment section, well, it's only a $20 knife. Well, the thing is, if you're going to go around touting made in the USA, and people make the claim that USA-made products are better than foreign-made products, you need to make that true, because that stamp doesn't mean a damn thing if you aren't willing to actually put some good quality control into your knives. And I let them know I tried fixing it myself. I put a small screwdriver on there, flathead with a good surface, and tried to kind of pin it again myself with a hammer. Didn't work. I don't have a vise to actually clamp that back down. And I let them know that I couldn't, fix it myself. The next email said, well, you're more than welcome to send it to us. Here's the address. And I asked them, okay, will I be paying the shipping and handling charges there and back? They responded with yes. So, in order to send this off to Buck, I would have to pay about $6 to send it to them, and about $6 to get it back, so $12 to fix my $20 knife. Which I also said was unacceptable. Again, any other company that I've contacted, if I had to send a product to them, I only had to pay shipping one way, or sometimes they would even send me a box that was already ready to be shipped back to them, and they would cover all the shipping charges, even on cheaper knives. If I had to send something into Kershaw, I would pay the shipping cost to them, but they would pay the shipping cost back. Same for Gerber, same for Leatherman, same for any other company I've had to use the customer service on. But Buck wanted me to pay shipping and handling both ways. Yeah, it wasn't going to happen. And I let them know it's not worth the money to send it out that way. And they said, I'm sorry, there's nothing else we could do. And at this moment, I was actually pissed off. I was extremely pissed off. And I told them, well, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know I am a video reviewer. And I'll admit, I did flex that a little bit. Never claimed I was a big-time video reviewer, though. I said, I am a video reviewer, and I'm going to be reviewing these this knife. And since the only one I have, or the only ones I have issues like this, then I'm going to have to show everyone the kind of quality that you guys let out of your factory. And immediately their tone changed. Immediately their tone changed. The next email said, well, we'd be happy to get you a replacement out there. Please just send us your address, and we'll take care of everything. So I did. That was after they started asking, what's the tang stamp on your knife? What's the model number? I told them the model number was 285, as can be seen here. They asked what my little symbol was on the blade. And the symbol on here is that, see if I can get it to show up on camera for you guys. Right there, that weird kind of C shape. I have no idea why they wanted to know that, but they did. And they sent me this. Another Buck Bantam BLW, the same color as the one I have here. So, yeah, they were willing to replace it after I had to argue with them, and this one luckily does not have any of those scale issues. Okay, it's brand new, though it didn't come with the box, it just came wrapped up in some foam. It's a bit stiff, but I know that will wear in over time. Lockup on this one, pretty solid. I don't feel any play in it. I'll have to use it to see, though there's issues with this one too, such as the edge at a box. See that? Completely dull. And the tip on this thing, this is brand new. Brand new. Okay, I got this in the mail yesterday. See if I can get my camera to focus here. There you go. Look at how blunted that tip is. I thought the pink one was kind of disappointing out of box, but this one is horrible. Again, I'll bring in the other orange one just for comparison. You see the difference in that? It is a world of difference. By the way, the stamp on this one does have a different symbol. As you can see there. Maybe that has something to do with the difference in quality. This one also, strangely, come on camera focus, has a stone-washed hollow grind section as well, whereas I mentioned the other ones had a satin finish on the grinding. So that's kind of interesting. So they did send me a replacement after I argued with them, and the replacement has a really bad tip and not so great centering. It's not as bad as the pink one, but it's almost rubbing that handle scale. So this one's brand new. Yeah, definitely disappointed with that. But moving back into the review, the pocket clip. The pocket clip is so-so. What I mean by that is we have one position only, right hand tip down, which we can get, you know, at least two-way positionable clips on knives in the same price point these days. So that's a little bit disappointing, but I could live with that if the clip quality was consistent. This one had really bad tension at first, and I had to bend it. And by the way, look at that screw after I used the appropriate size bit trying to take that out. It completely stripped, very low quality material, very poorly treated steel. And I couldn't even get it all the way back in as a result. That was me trying to get this, the screw back in, not even trying to back it, you know, out. But I had to bend this one to get the tension I wanted. This one, tension was perfect. Brand new one, tension's a bit tight. So, very different clip tensions from 3 different examples of these knives. How does it carry, though? In pocket? I will say once you get it in pocket, it carries perfectly for me, just as much exposed as I want for the knife, so I can grab onto it and extract it from the pocket. Many people like deep carry clips. I am not many people. I despise deep carry clips for my own personal use. You can see we do have a nice lanyard bail on there, so you can fit any kind of cordage you want through the handle, which seems pointless to me when we have a tip-down carry clip. So I guess if you wanted to use that lanyard hole or lanyard bail, you might want to go clipless on these knives, which is an option if you don't actually like the pocket clips or you prefer just pocket carrying your knives anyways. Price point on these is 20 bucks, and they say USA. Previously, I would say it was prior to 2009, these were completely made in China. Now they say they're assembled in or made in the USA of US and foreign parts. There's no way of proving exactly what parts come from the USA and what parts come from China. But I can say that after having handled some of the Chinese versions of the knives, they feel identical to me. And by law, in order to claim made in the USA, they literally just had to put, you know, 1 or 2 pieces of the knife together here. So if they had everything made in China but the pocket clip, and then it was shipped over here, all they would have to do is screw that pocket clip on, and they can say it's made in the USA of US and Chinese parts. I have no idea if that's what they did or not. I wouldn't be surprised, but don't let that USA stamp be your deciding factor when buying this knife, because it's not wholly made in the USA, and it's probably barely made in the USA anyhow. And the country of origin really does not matter in terms of quality. Proof of that? Check this out. It's the only competitive option I'm going to roll in here today because I'm already running out of time. This is a Gonzo Firebird. What model is this one? F759M. This is a better knife in every department than these 3 buck Bantams, and it costs about half the price on average. Better blade steel with 440C, 4-way positionable clip. We can actually adjust this knife thanks to them using screws on the body. Equal quality handle material, being a glass reinforced nylon. Good ergonomics, we can choke up on the blade. Excellent slicing potential, no blade play in any direction. This is a solid knife. And yeah, it is better than any of these 3. The Bird Meadowlark 2 is along these exact same lines. The K-Bar Dozier will be along these same lines. The Cold Steel Con will be along the same lines. There are just too many better options out there for a $20 to $30 lockback knife to buy these buck Bantams. I still feel like they're extremely subpar, and you guys have seen the reasons why. This is what they sent me as a replacement, and it had a blunted tip and really bad censoring, and a dull blade. This one had a weak clip, and the screw stripped when I tried to put the clip back on, and a somewhat blunted tip. This one had an extremely weak lock bar that I can flex just by putting a small amount of effort or pressure against the blade. So for that reason, I'm unimpressed with the Buck Bantam series, and I probably won't be bothering with any more of the knives in the Buck Bantam line. I will still try out other Buck knives. I still love Buck as a company, but these to me are a complete miss and a waste of money in my personal opinion. That being said, if you do want, you know, one of these knives, they come in a wide variety of colors and different, you know, handle wraps. This one you can see is an orange mossy oak, but keep in mind that you will eventually have some flaking and damaging to those handle options. You can see there's a little bit of wear there. Kind of unavoidable, a little bit of wear there. But if you're looking for a, you know, USA made knife and you want this blade anyways, it's not awful, but it's certainly not my first, second, third, fourth, or fifth choice. So that has been my review of the Buck Bantam BLW. If you guys liked the video, feel free to like. If you disliked the video, go ahead and dislike. But until next time, I'll see y'all later. Peace and take care.